Just before we get into this video, guys, if you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, the links are here. And if you also want to support me on Patreon as well and help out my channel, that would be absolutely awesome as well. But let's get on with the video. Hey guys, it is Wingy here and welcome to a brand new video. But just before we get into this actual video and today's topic, just want to let you guys know that recently I was on Galactic Yo-Yo's podcast. I'll leave a link in the description and I'll put a clip in now.
What's it doing for you?
Nothing. Well, it angers me, and that's the thing. It's the one episode of Doctor Who where I've genuinely been angry after I finished watching it. Because
okay, I think it depends what you perceive Moffat's goal to have been in making that. Like, what do you think the point of the story is?
To piss everybody off.
I don't think it is. People have this perception that he was sitting in his little office like like
he does. He's like one of them
everybody.
He's like a stereotype of a villain twisting the mustache. That's exactly what he was like. But yes, anyway, where were we before Hellbent? Go and check out the full thing. It was really, really cool. I had a good time recording it. And his podcast is actually really, really good. And there's someone who actually wants to get their own podcast off the ground within the next few months. It was really interesting to see firsthand how somebody actually handles it. And Dylan, to be fair, you're really good at what you do. So yeah, go and check his podcast out. Listen to the one with me if you want and all the others as well. But moving on to today's video. So this is another video that was suggested to me via Patreon. Top 10 pieces of Doctor Who music or stories that have good music. Today's video was suggested by Christopher Kirtley, so thank you very much for both supporting me on Patreon and for the video suggestion. Now, I'm probably not going to do this in order because I couldn't really decide, but I definitely have 10 that are sort of standout ones for me. And also, because of copyright, I can't really put in pieces of music and I don't want a copyright strike on my channel, so hopefully you know which pieces of music and which stories that I'm talking about and how they sound. But if not, you're watching this on YouTube, so once you're done, go and YouTube it. If you need to, of course. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first one I want to talk about is Tomb of the Cybermen. Now, there's going to be a few Cybermen stories on here, and I think with good reason, because for the most part, the music with the Cybermen has always been very, very good. Tomb of the Cybermen especially is one of those stories where the music is one of the most memorable things about the story. The music in this story, particularly when the Cybermen break out of the tombs, it's very electronic, yet it's also very spooky and very haunting. In a way, it's kind of all over the place, but yet it works and fits together, and yet perfectly fits with the Cybermen. The music itself is almost cold, and I think that suits both the Telos planet and also the robotic Cybermen. Not only is it a very good story, but I think that the music in this really does build the atmosphere. It really does build the stakes. And for me, it's definitely one of the most memorable pieces of music in Doctor Who. Next, Bad Wolf / Parting of the Ways. Now, this was like the first series finale that we got when the series came back, and the music had to live up to that, and my god, it does. Now, overall, I'm not a massively huge fan of Murray Gold. I don't really like the sort of orchestral sound that he put for the show. This one though, totally works, especially the main theme of the Daleks. Scale is kind of the main word I can use to describe this soundtrack. It really is sort of like a oh shit moment when you see that massive Dalek fleet and the music rises. But I also love that theme as well, where the Daleks are just sort of wandering about the corridors, and it's a very sort of quiet track with like one piercing synth going through it. I can't really explain it without doing an impression of it, and I have to put a clip in, but I can't. But I think you guys know the one I mean, maybe. I mean, you've seen the story. The music in this really does amplify the threat that the Daleks truly are. And I think for me, this was probably my, well, technically second experience with the Daleks. It really makes you fear them. Next, I want to talk about the Two Doctors. Now, I love this story. I really, really do. I know the Colin Baker era of Doctor Who, it gets a bad rap, but honestly, the Two Doctors is probably my second favourite story in his era. Now, there's two main pieces that I love. The Sontaran theme, it's just the best Sontaran theme. Although there is that one in the Invasion of Time. No, Two Doctors is better. It's big and it's powerful and it's bombastic, and it really just sort of summarises the Sontarans. Yes, it's a pity that the Sontarans on screen look incredibly crap, but the music makes them seem more epic than what they actually are. And because of course there is a lot of overseas location filming for this, the music accommodates that as well. It has got a sort of Spanish theme through it. I like that. It really does sort of make the most of the location filming. 80s music in Doctor Who I think is very hit and miss for the most part. This is definitely one of the hits. It's one of the standout soundtracks to classic Doctor Who for me. Going back to the new series again with the 11th Hour. Now, the main reason why I want to talk about the 11th Hour is because that introduced us to I Am the Doctor. It's just a brilliant piece of Doctor Who music. It summarises the Doctor beautifully. It's sort of a bit skitty, and yet it's also epic and heroic and empowering, and you just can't help but feel awesome when you're listening to it. The rest of the music in this as well is awesome. It is very fairy tale like, particularly towards the beginning, but I Am the Doctor really is the standout piece of music here. The only gripe gripe that I have with it is that it was way overused throughout Matt Smith's era. It was almost a simple case of, oh well, the Doctor's gonna get us out of this situation, let's play I Am the Doctor. So it does drag a bit, but you can't deny it's still a great piece of music. And like I say, there is the sort of stuff with Amy Pond in this as well, the music for her. It just really works. It's always been one of my favourite episodes in general. And I think the music really does add to it, because let's face it, this was the start of a new era. And the music, even though it is the same composer, it doesn't feel like it is. The transition from Russell's to Moffat's era, it just sounds totally different. It's not something that they especially kept up, I don't think, but for this first story in Series 5, really works. And back to the classic series with the Sea Devils. Now, I mean, this is one of my favourite stories ever. I love how weird this soundtrack is. It's so weird and wonderful, and it's so sort of synthy, and it doesn't quite work. It sounds very ocean-like. Is that a thing? Well, that's what I'm saying it is anyway. When you see the Sea Devils come out of the ocean, that scene when the music is all sort of electronic and a bit warpy, it's stuck in my memory. Again, I can't play it because of copyright, but I can picture it in my head, and if you know the scene and you know it well, I imagine you can hear it as well. To me, that music represents what Doctor Who is. Alien. And technically the Sea Devils aren't aliens, but the music makes you feel like they are, like it is this otherworldly creature that is coming out of the sea. And of course the Master's theme, I believe, is in this episode as well. I mean, anytime Roger Delgado appears, usually they will play that blah 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 blah. I've not done that justice. Not at all. You know the one that I mean though, the hypnotizing music that the Master has, you just see his eyes and it's like the blah 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 blah. I can't do it. I can't do it. But yeah, this is probably one of the strangest Doctor Who scores, and I just love it. It just takes you through the story amazingly well. It is slightly dated, I would say, but I don't care. I just love the Sea Devils. Next to a story that you might find surprising that I've put on this, considering that I don't really rate the story, Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Now, I don't particularly like this scene when this music is played, and I think the whole thing surrounding it is bullshit, but I can't deny that the theme of the woman, the opera woman, as Rose is on the beach with the Doctor. I don't know the name of it, but it's really, really good. I remember watching the Doctor Who proms live, like on BBC iPlayer or BBC Three or the Red Button or something like that, and they did it live and they had the woman singing, and it's such a beautiful piece of music in a way, and I know this is going to sound bad, but in a way it's a bit too good for Doctor Who. I mean, yeah, Doctor Who is mint, but it is still like a science fiction show that's, you know, about robots and time travel and pepper pots and all that sort of jazz. Whereas this sounds like it belongs in a Hollywood movie. It sounds like a sadder version of Lily's theme from Harry Potter. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that particular piece of music from Harry Potter, but it kind of reminds me of that. And the way that the bass line kicks in as well with the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah, it's just amazing. The score itself brings a tear to my eye. It's just a shame that it was put in such a bullshit episode. I should love it. It's Daleks versus Cybermen, but it just gets it so wrong. So from one Cyberman story to the next. The Invasion. Now this is one of my all-time favourite classic Doctor Who stories. In fact, it's probably my favourite Patrick Troughton story, and I love the score to this. Unit in this has a really sort of upbeat and jaunty theme, yet it's also very military-esque as well. But the main sort of score running throughout this episode is very much like a western, I think. It feels like a standoff. There's creepy bass lines. There's weird sounds in it. It's definitely one of the more atmospheric pieces of music that I'm going to mention on this list. Another thing that I find so great about it as well is that throughout the 8 parts, the music isn't always the same. They keep coming up with new variations on that, and I imagine that wouldn't have been an easy thing to do, especially keep it as interesting as it is. I wouldn't say it necessarily fits the Cybermen perfectly, but the story that the Cybermen are in, this one, it works really well for it. In fact, when I'm listening to scores from Doctor Who, I often listen to this one, okay, and then from another Cyberman story to another one. Earthshock. I don't think anybody would be surprised that I put that on here. In fact, the next 3, including Earthshock, they're probably going to be quite obvious. Well, one of them maybe not. The Invasion is atmospheric, yes, but Earthshock even more so. March of the Cybermen is the freaking best piece of music ever. Okay, it isn't, because I'm going to mention 2 others, and to be honest, I do quite prefer them. But March of the Cybermen is easily one of the best pieces of music. The pulsating bass line and the epic synths that come in when you see the Cybermen marching. That, for me, is the definitive Cybermen music. Also, part 1, where you don't hear March of the Cybermen, it is very atmospheric and creepy. All the scenes in the caves are 10 times creepier because of this really chilling music. What I love about this episode in particular is the fact that the music knows when to be quiet and low and atmospheric, and yet it knows when to be bang, we're here. The music for the cliffhanger is just, oh my god, it just hits you in the face, and there's the Cybermen.
Destroy them! Destroy them at once!
The music in this is cold and it's calculated, and yet at the same time it's big and it's epic. And not only that, you have Adric's music in this as well. Obviously this would be Adric's last story, and the music for him is really, really fitting. It's sweet in a way. Well, I guess in a way it's bittersweet because he blows up. So the penultimate one that I want to talk about is City of Death. You probably knew that that was going to be on here. It's just such a fun and heartwarming and bouncy soundtrack to listen to. Literally that scene where they're running across Paris and they're crossing the road and whatnot. That music that's playing then, I can't lie, every time I'm crossing the road, that music is in my head. Obviously I did it no justice there, but it's freaking awesome. One thing I will say, I don't think it really utilizes the location filming like the Two Doctors does. The music doesn't particularly feel French. That's not really an issue. I mean, the music itself is just glorious. Was it Dudley Simpson? I think it was Dudley Simpson. If I've got that wrong, I apologize. But for me, this is Dudley Simpson's best piece of music, and if it isn't Dudley Simpson's best piece of music, then whoever made this piece of music, it is their best piece of music. It's just a sense of adventure that you get with it. It's just so fun and uplifting. And I guess, I know I said it doesn't really feel like they utilised the location that they were in, but them manoeuvring about Paris, it definitely suits that. If I ever go to Paris one day, I'm putting that soundtrack on my phone and I'm wandering about the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe and all that sort of shit listening to that, because then I'll feel fucking cool. And then the final one that I want to talk about is Legopolis. I've mentioned the music in Legopolis before, and I've got to say, I still love it to this day. I recently rewatched Legopolis, and it's such a dark and miserable and funeral-esque sort of tone. Like, you can tell that there's a death coming, and seeing Tom's face when he realizes who the Watcher is, the music just adds to his expression. It's almost like the music is translating what his face and what his thoughts are saying. You do get the feeling that somebody's about to die, and that something is really gonna go down. And the actual piece of music, It's the End, that is gorgeous. It is so good, because it's almost just like, yes, somebody's died, but they're being reborn. It's tragic, yet it's warm at the same time. I know that sounds weird, but it's how I feel when I listen to it. And I love, as you see Davison's face, a slight bit of the Doctor Who theme is put in there. I think that was such a clever little thing to do. For me, it's a toss-up between this and City of Death for the best ever Doctor Who soundtrack. I can't fault either of them, and I love them, and I listen to them both quite a lot. I think the main two words that I can use to describe the Legopolis soundtrack is beautifully dark. And I imagine when I'm on my deathbed, hopefully, which is many years away, I'll probably, knowing me, say, "It's the end," as my final words, and then I'll have this theme in my head. Or I'll just get hit by a bus. I don't know, maybe either way, you know? But yes, those are 10 Doctor Who stories where I think the music is just mint. It's great. I love it. They're all memorable. That's something that I found, you know. It wasn't really a hard list to do like some of the others have been. But let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with my choices? What other stories out there do you love the soundtrack to? Whether it's the full story or it's just one isolated piece of music. Whatever it is, let me know in the comments below. Thank you again to Christopher Kirtley for suggesting this video. I had a blast doing this one actually, because I was re-listening to a few of these and I really enjoyed myself. Make sure you go and check out the podcast that I did with Galactic Yo-Yo and all his other stuff as well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like on it. Follow me on social media, links are in the description. If you want to suggest a video to me, then support me on Patreon and I will do it. I think I've got a couple more to get round to as well. And if you do any of those things, I would love you forever. But until next time guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye. And the soundtrack just accompanies it. Fucking hell. I'm actually getting pissed off. I'm actually getting pissed off that I can't say it.